It begins beneath your feet, not with the bison grazing by the river, not with the pine forest stretching to the horizon, but with fire. With molten rock that has been moving for millions of years, shaping a land unlike any other on Earth. You're standing at more than 8,000 feet above sea level on the roof of a sleeping giant. Below you, a supervolcano murmurs, ancient, immense, alive. And above, the air smells of pine and sulfur, and steam drifts like ghostly breath between the trees. This is Yellowstone National Park, where the planet itself seems to inhale and exhale. A place of contradictions, peace and danger, beauty and destruction, wilderness and wonder. Long before there were roads or rangers, before the word Yellowstone ever appeared on a map, this land was already ancient. 2 million years ago, fire tore through the crust of the earth. The eruption was so vast, it released more than 2,000 times the energy of Mount St. Helens. Ash covered half of North America. Then it happened again and again. Each eruption collapsed the ground into an immense volcanic caldera, forming what we now call the Yellowstone Plateau. And yet, from that destruction came creation. Out of the lava beds rose forests, rivers cut deep canyons, glaciers carved valleys and lakes, steam rose from the earth as if the planet itself was still catching its breath. Today, that ancient energy still flows beneath the surface. It powers more than 10,000 hydrothermal features, geysers, hot springs, mud pots, fumaroles, more than anywhere else on Earth. Over half the planet's geysers are right here. And then there's the most famous of them all, Old Faithful. She isn't the largest or the hottest, but she's loyal. Every 90 minutes, like clockwork, she rises, a plume of boiling water erupting toward the sky, 100 feet high, as if the earth is speaking once again. Imagine standing there, surrounded by strangers from every corner of the world, cameras ready, eyes wide, hearts waiting, and then that roar, that white jet of water exploding upward. In that moment, everyone goes silent. It's the language of the earth, older than words. For at least 11,000 years, long before explorers or tourists, this was the homeland and hunting ground of many indigenous nations. The Shoshone, the Crow, the Blackfeet, the Nez Perce, the Bannock, among others. They came here not to conquer, but to live with the land, to hunt, to fish, to gather obsidian for tools and weapons, to pass through the mountains with respect and ceremony. To them, the geysers were not curiosities. They were living spirits, sacred places, powerful, not to be disturbed. When you walk through the steaming valleys of Yellowstone today, imagine their footsteps under yours. They were here long before the signs and fences, long before the myth of untouched wilderness. In the early 1800s, fur trappers, soldiers, and wanderers began bringing back impossible tales. Boiling rivers, yellow cliffs, mountains that smoked. Most listeners thought they were exaggerations or hallucinations brought on by mountain fever. But in 1871, the Hayden Geological Survey changed everything. A group of explorers, scientists, artists, photographers ventured into the unknown. Among them were William Henry Jackson, who carried bulky glass plate cameras, and Thomas Moran, a painter whose sweeping canvases would capture the imagination of a nation. When their images reached Washington, D.C., people could hardly believe them. They saw not just a wilderness, but a wonder. And 1 year later, on March 1st, 1872, President Ulysses S. Grant signed the Yellowstone National Park Protection Act, creating the first national park in human history. A radical idea was born, that a piece of nature, not for profit, not for farming, not for private land, could be set aside simply for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. But the dream wasn't easy to keep. The early park had no rangers, no real budget, no plan. Poachers slaughtered animals, vandals defaced geysers, speculators tried to grab land. For years, the U.S. Army had to patrol Yellowstone to protect it from its own visitors. Then the railroads arrived. By the 1880s, the Northern Pacific Railway began promoting the park as a destination, the wonderland of America. Hotels rose, stagecoaches clattered over dusty trails, and suddenly, Yellowstone became both a sanctuary and a spectacle. In 1915, automobiles were finally allowed. Tourism exploded. Families arrived in Model Ts, camping near the geysers, marveling at bears that wandered into campgrounds. It was the dawn of a new American ritual, the road trip into the wild. Yellowstone is home to one of the most complete ecosystems in the temperate world. Bison roam freely, the last remnants of the great herds that once covered the plains. Elk graze in the valleys. Grizzlies patrol the mountains. And in the late 20th century, after decades of absence, wolves returned. When wolves were reintroduced in 1995, something extraordinary happened. The ecosystem shifted. With predators back, elk herds changed their behavior, avoiding riverbanks. Trees like willows and aspens began to recover. Beavers returned, reshaping streams. Bird populations rose. It was a breathtaking chain reaction, a reminder that every piece of nature is connected to every other. But the wild is never entirely tame. Every year, visitors are injured by the same animals they come to admire: bison, bears, even elk during rutting season. Because here, even with boardwalks and rules and maps, you're still stepping into the raw edge of the earth. Yellowstone demands respect. Beneath Yellowstone lies not just rock, but the movement of the Earth's interior. The story begins with a mantle plume or hotspot, a rising column of hot rock from the deep mantle that remains relatively fixed while the overlying North American plate moves southwest. As the plate drifted, the hotspot left a trail of volcanic activity across what is now the Snake River Plain, the Yellowstone Plateau, and surrounding region. The geology gets dramatic. Over the past 2 million years, Yellowstone's volcanic system unleashed 3 major eruptions, each massive. The earliest of these major eruptions happened 2.1 million years ago. The last of the big 3 occurred about 640,000 years ago and produced the lava Creek Tuff and created the present caldera. After these explosive events, the ground collapsed into a massive depression, what we call a caldera. The current Yellowstone caldera lies largely beneath the park. The story didn't stop with the collapse. After the major eruptions, there were post-caldera lava flows, rhyolite domes, and basaltic activity confined to the caldera margins. For example, the most recent lava flow is the Pitchstone Plateau flow, while 70,000 plus years old, within the caldera. After the explosion and collapse drama, the land kept remodeling itself, slower, quieter, flows of glowing rock filling hollows, domes rising like scars healing. Above this fiery plumbing system lies one of Yellowstone's signature features, its hydrothermal system. Over 10,000 hydrothermal features like geysers, hot springs, mud pots, fumarole exist here, making it the greatest concentration in the world. Here's how it works. Rain and snow fall on the surface, seep deep into the crust, are heated by the hot rock magma beneath, then rise back up, sometimes explosively. The result: geysers like Old Faithful Geyser, the vivid pools of the supervolcano, mud pots, steaming vents. The geology of Yellowstone isn't only volcanic. The region's rocks record events going back 3.5 billion years. Ancient crust, mountain building, sea level changes, glaciation. In 1988, a dry summer and high winds turned small lightning strikes into an inferno. Flames raced through the forest. By the time the first snow fell, nearly 36% of the park had burned. Television screens showed mountains engulfed in fire, and many feared Yellowstone was lost forever. But then, the miracle. Within months, shoots of green pushed through the ash. Lodgepole pines opened their cones, releasing seeds that had been sealed for decades, waiting for fire. Elk and bison returned to graze the new grass. From devastation came rebirth. Nature was reminding us, it doesn't need saving, it needs understanding. Fire wasn't the end, it was part of the story. Today, Yellowstone welcomes over 4 million visitors each year. They come to walk the geyser basins, photograph bison jams on the road, watch the sunset over Yellowstone Lake, or stand breathless at the edge of the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, where the river plunges 300 feet in a roar of gold mist. But the park also faces new challenges. Climate change altering snowmelt and wildlife patterns, invasive species creeping into rivers, housing shortages for seasonal staff, and the strain of tourism on delicate ecosystems. Even paradise needs maintenance. Yet somehow, despite the crowds and the cameras, there are still moments of perfect silence here. Moments when the wind softens, the steam drifts across a meadow, and you hear nothing but the heartbeat of the earth itself. Yellowstone isn't just a park. It's a mirror, showing us who we are and how small we stand in the face of time. It reminds us that nature is not a backdrop to our story, it is the story. That beauty often rises from destruction. That the earth is not fragile in the way we imagine. It's ancient, resilient, alive. And yet, it's also fragile in the ways that matter most. Because its survival now depends not on volcanoes or glaciers, but on us, on our decisions, our respect, our restraint. Every geyser that erupts, every wolf that howls, every tree that grows after a fire is part of a conversation between the planet and its people. We are guests here, temporary. And if we listen closely, the land still speaks. The sun is setting behind the Absaroka Range. The air turns cold, crisp, almost electric. You walk along the boardwalk one last time. Steam curls upward, catching the golden light. A herd of bison grazes in the distance. And beneath it all, you feel it. The pulse of the earth below your feet. A heartbeat of fire. A reminder that the world we stand on is alive. And maybe, just maybe, so are we, in a deeper way, when we remember to look, to listen, and to protect the wonder that sustains us. You've been listening to Yellowstone, where the earth breathes. If this story moved you, share it, subscribe, and keep exploring. Because somewhere out there, the earth is still telling stories, and all we have to do is listen.